Hello, book people. P.T. Hilton here. I'm here today with a quick take on Planetary by Warren Ellis and John Cassaday. Planetary is the story of three people: Elijah Snow, Jaquita Wagner, and the drummer. And together, these three people are mystery archaeologists, and they go around cataloging all the crazy, strange things that happen in the world. This book is cool because each individual issue of this comic is really a standalone story. I would say pretty much every issue is kind of a standalone story, but they fit together and tell a much larger story very well. If you can see my hand quivering a little bit, that's because this is a heavy, huge and heavy book. This is the omnibus. That's the complete series. I think it's 26 issues, 27 issues. First of all, this has one of the coolest covers ever, in my opinion. We've got Elijah Snow there holding up the mystery piece. And this is very much a mystery. It's the pieces come together. You could kind of look at it like each individual issue is one of these pieces, and when you read the whole thing and it all fits together, it's pretty cool to see the larger picture that it builds. And I think this cover does an amazing job of showing that. This is just a beautiful volume, by the way, too. I think I showed this in my TBR, but I do want to show it without the dust jacket on. Here's what it looks like without the dust jacket. The Planetary Guide looks like just a cool old book. First of all, let's talk about the artwork. John Cassaday drew it, so you know it's going to be beautiful. He has done a lot of stuff, but most known to me before this as the artist of The Astonishing X-Men. Pick a random page here, hopefully without a spoiler. Here's just a look at the artwork. Very vibrant colors, very beautiful artwork. One cool thing about this book is, so they're going around investigating mysteries. This book came out right around the turn of the century, right around the year 2000, and really, it's kind of a love letter to the 20th century, into pop culture and pulp fiction and comics and sci-fi of the 20th century. So they go investigate stuff, and they'll go investigate something, and it will turn out to be a, like a Doc Savage type character, and then that'll be that issue. Each issue is kind of a different ode to some other little piece of pop culture from the 20th century, and it's a pretty fun game kind of to go through and figure out, oh, okay, that person is supposed to be kind of a Tarzan, that type character. That person's supposed to be Wonder Woman. That person is supposed to be a Godzilla or whatever. To go through and see all these really cool references, but at the same time to build a really interesting story around it. That would get old after a few issues if there wasn't a really strong story behind it. I also want to say too that one of the mottos of the Planetary, this group that our three people are working for, Elijah, Jaquita, and the drummer, is it's a strange world, let's keep it that way. And I would like to think that is a little bit of Warren Ellis making a commentary on the state of comics and pulpy fiction and speculative fiction at the time he was writing this, because I believe there was in the 90s 80s, 90s, there was a trend in comic books, and also I think a little bit in literature, towards more gritty, realistic type stuff. And I think with his highlighting all these things from the 20th century, he's saying, look, these are the things that are going to stand the test of time from the 20th century. And it's some of the weirdest stuff you could imagine, like Tarzan, a baby who's raised by apes, and it's a weird idea, right? But it turns out and works very well. Or the many examples he used, mutated giant ants or whatever. These are the things that like really capture our memory when we think of like old sci-fi and stuff like that. And I think he's saying, let's not let our speculative fiction become too normal. Let's not be afraid to push boundaries. Let's not be afraid to tell different and unique and strange and exciting stories. And I think if there's kind of a thesis or overall point to Planetary, that's it. There's also a few overarching mysteries throughout the book. The first one really is that there is someone called the Fourth Man who is funding this Planetary group, and our people, Elijah, Jaquita, and the drummer, don't know who it is, so there's a little bit of a mystery there. There's also a group called the Four who pop up, and I don't want to say too much about them, but I think the way that their story plays out is so cool and such an interesting thing. They span most of the whole series. They're kind of an underlying force that has to be dealt with throughout the series, and it's really interesting, some of the stuff Warren Ellis does with them. So this book, I give it 5 stars without a doubt. So well written, so well drawn. It's just a beautiful series. If you're looking for an interesting comic that really is heady and gets into some interesting science stuff, but also is really just a celebration of pop culture and of comics and speculative fiction. Look no further than Planetary. I give it a huge recommendation. Definitely check it out. That's going to do it for me. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.